Nice, welcome back. Take a seat and experience this great knowledge here, this great lectures here on the e-commerce stage. I don't know about you, but I'm loving it when I'm paying for a product and I can buy it now and pay later. And to deliver this great feeling and customer experience to their business clients, Notebooksbilliger.de NBB partnered with Mondu by offering a B2C-like payment experience. So please join the conversation with Martin Schwager, COO of NBB, and Malte Huffmann. He's the co-founder and co-CEO of Mondu, to discover how digital payments contribute to the success of NBB's B2B business. So welcome with a big round of applause, Malte and Martin on the stage.
Hi everyone, huge pleasure to be here with you today. We'll be speaking about how NBB or Notebooksbilliger are driving the B2B side of their business through digital payment methods. And I'm especially excited to be doing this together with Martin. And I think before we get into the contents, I would like to quickly introduce ourselves real quick, and I think I'll just kick us off here. So my name is Malte. Obviously, I've been in tech, e-commerce and fintech for the last 13 years. Before Mondu, I co-founded 2 fashion e-commerce businesses actually, and co-led them to success. One was MyBrands, which today is part of the Zalando group because we sold it in 2010. And the other one was Dafici, which became the market leader in fashion and lifestyle e-commerce in South America and IPO'd at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange in 2021 via the Global Fashion Group. So I've been a merchant myself for many, many years, and I think I have a rather deep understanding of what are the issues and the topics for merchants, whether they sell B2B or B2B. And for Mondu, I changed sides basically, and I'm now trying to support merchants and marketplaces to fully live up to their potential by leveraging state-of-the-art payment methods. And payments, obviously, there has been a lot of innovation over the last 10, 15, 20 years, but most of it was focused on B2C. So consumers today, I think, have almost joyful experiences when they buy something, especially in digital channels. But I think on the B2B side, that's still very, very different. So it's still rather archaic. There's still a lot of potential for innovation. And that's what we do at Mondu. We want to drive innovation through better technology and just support basically B2B merchants in that sense. Martin, maybe over to you.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Right, it's quite unusual that, let's say, we talk on payments, to be honest, right? But you will learn why I said, okay, we're going to do that jointly today, later on. So basically, Notebooksbilliger, classical retailer, so we mainly sell electronic goods. We do have a small assortment, but quite, let's say, deep assortment. What not everyone knows is that besides the fact that we still have, let's say, most of our revenues in B2C, we also do have a large, let's say, B2B sales division, which caters to, let's say, a lot of the European countries. So there we are farther with our rollout than we are in the B2C sector. So still B2C's core, but for us, let's say, comparing the numbers in the market, right, B2B versus B2C, e-commerce, B2B tends to be, let's say, 5 or 4 times larger than B2C, is of course a growth lever that we also want to tap into more. For us, it's always important, let's say, to be, let's say, on leading edges on some of the things in order to, let's say, deliver that kind of things. And of course, if you want to do that at scale, it's always important that we have scalable solutions in the end, both, let's say, inside as well as outside. Yeah, but back to you.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just wanted to pick up quickly on what you said about the B2B growth opportunity, right? Because we talk to hundreds of merchants every month, and I think we see a very clear and strong theme for B2B e-commerce. Whether it's B2C retailers that also now look deeper and have identified basically the opportunity for B2B, but also obviously B2B players that want to digitize more and more of their B2B transactions and B2B trade. And I think therefore it's no wonder that basically B2B e-commerce today, if you believe the numbers of the EFH or IFH, is actually already twice the size of B2C e-commerce, for example, in Germany, right? It's actually a 300 billion euro market compared to 150 on the B2C side. And obviously, all of the players that are in B2B and want to grow that segment, they all ask themselves, how can I constantly optimize my value proposition to cater to the business buyers? And I think payment has always been and will always be a huge element of the value proposition. And I think that's the idea of today, to look into a little bit of the learnings of what we've seen on the B2B side in terms of digital payments. And I think we'll look at 4 topics. State-of-the-art B2B payment setup. Second, how merchants can manage risks, look at costs, but also ideally optimize cash flow and working capital. We will touch upon sort of the innovative solutions that drive growth, but focus especially on the lifetime value and the repeat purchases. And lastly, also, we want to discuss how merchants can look at payment not only from a cost perspective, but also look at it rather more from a profit contribution point of view. And I think let's get started with the first one, offering state-of-the-art payment solutions. And I think the question really is here, what do buyers in a B2B context expect, right? And I think maybe we could even turn this over to you real quick. When you buy on behalf of your company, what are your favorite payment methods? Corporate credit cards, maybe prepayment, PayPal. I think there are obviously a lot of payment methods, but I think if you believe the studies in Germany, it's very clear that business buyers prefer buy now, pay later payment methods. Company credit cards, PayPal, etc., they do play a role, they are relevant, but ultimately there's a clear preference towards buy now, pay later methods or deferred payment options. And that is obviously a little bit because of invoice payment, the good old German Rechnungskauf, but also the need for flexible payment terms, right? And I think that's such a crucial element. And Martin, you recently implemented basically a Rechnungskauf solution, right, or a B2B payments solution on the buy now, pay later side. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the motivation and also how it's faring until now.
Yeah, we will do. So that's basically one of the reasons why I said, okay, let's do that jointly. I see former colleagues in the audience. Hi. So as you can see, I'm quite happy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, right? And one of the things that we believe also changed the picture and why we said, okay, we need to re-evaluate, let's say, how we do B2B payments, is that if you look some years back, right, what was the difference in the market? The difference was that if you had money in the bank, it was almost not a good thing, right? So it was rather seen, okay, let's pay everything as early as we can in order not to pay additional, let's say, dividends to the bank because you had like negative interest rates. That completely changed. And we currently still see that, let's say, that behavioral change that you need in the finance departments and, let's say, in purchasing departments in the B2B, that didn't yet follow to 100%, but you still see that a lot of them are changing their mindsets, right? So a lot of those discussions around, okay, in the past I paid with my credit card, right? Even like large amounts, sometimes even $500,000 for just a single order. They just put on their credit cards just in order to have, let's say, the money flowing from their bank accounts. That completely changed, right? In the meantime, everyone is asking, can we talk on payment terms again, right? Can you send us an invoice? And the thing is, we do have, or we always had like a B2B payment option where you could do that. But it was quite cumbersome, let's say, having that worked out with the credit insurances and so on and so forth, because they don't have digital processes. So for us, let's say it was a clear decision, okay, if we now have more and more customers asking for, we need to have buy now, pay later processes, what's the best way of doing that? Could we do that internally? Could we do that externally? We obviously decided, let's say there is a good reason to doing that externally. But the main reason is customers do want to have it. There is financial reasons for both sides that it makes sense to have it. And for us, of course, there is, let's say, the third point, we need to be scalable in that what we are doing. Otherwise, we don't tap into the full potential of that 300 billion market, right? And that was the main reason why we said, okay, let's do that jointly. And whoever wants to do B2B payments, I really can recommend them because they're quite flexible. Also, when you have ideas around what can we do jointly in order to make not just a payment solution, but a solution that pays off for you as a, let's say, a new business opportunity almost.
Yeah. And I mean, you already alluded to it a little bit, right? But obviously, there's always an option to actually create this in-house, right? You explicitly opted to do it with an external provider, being Mondu, right? What were the considerations here, especially? Also, maybe considering a little bit the second part of the payment topics that we touched upon, risk, cost, and also cash flow.
Yeah. So as you can see, right, when we started discussing, there is two things that we've said, okay, that's crucial for us. So obviously, if you want to tap into a new market, what you want to have is new clients, right? What you unfortunately don't have on new clients is insights, right? So how do you decide this one is, let's say, someone that can credit like a 80,000 euro order. This one is one where you rather should limit that to 10,000 euro per order, and so on and so forth. So that's definitely something where we wanted to tap in. I mean, consider the market being like 3.5 million in Germany alone, like entities, right, that exist, and almost, I would say, more than 80% of them have less than 10 employees, right? So if we really want to tap into the potential, we need to have something that can decide early on for, let's say, telling us, okay, that's a green light. For even large orders, that's a red light. So maybe switch him to someone, let's say, a different scheme. But otherwise, doing that with our existing, let's say, cumbersome processes, talking to credit, let's say, insurance companies, we knew that's not going to work for like 2 million, 3 million entities, right? It's just not going to fly with our internal processes. Main reason being, right, we are a pure play. So we come out of the e-commerce pure play, whereas, let's say, the postage companies, they in most cases have like large department already doing invoice payments and working them out and doing all that cumbersome processes. So we knew that's not going to fly. We need a solution that scales. Who's in the market that can help us in making that scale? And the second point being, right, we sometimes do have really large orders for very special customer groups, right, that you also would need to look at differently. So, for example, we do sell a lot to public entities, right, where a normal, let's say, risk check does not really work because they are not listed somewhere. They don't publish data. But of course, if you have like a Gemeinde buying something with you, you know in the end they're going to pay. So what we learned is if we just throw them into normal risk scoring, all of them get red flags, even if they should not have red flags, right? So we needed some flexibility, some understanding on the payment side, someone that, let's say, sees, okay, this is the type of clients that we need to take care. And that's quite special for B2B. And that's where we said, okay, that's not something we want to develop on our own. And that's also not something that we try to scale in different countries, right? Because that's not our core business. It's something, let's say, where normally in e-commerce always says, payment just needs to work, and it needs to work in my, let's say, P&L, so it needs to be cost effective. But here, for us, I mean, we have tiny margins and large, let's say, tickets. It also needs to be risk-prone, right? So when we sell something, we need to be sure afterwards the money is flowing in, and we need someone, let's say, to share the risk with that can have a better look at the data than we have on new clients. So that was, let's say, an easy or natural decision for us to say, not going to fly with our existing process. If we want to scale that fast, we need someone that has the proper understanding and the proper tech in order to do that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we see, obviously, with many of the merchants that we talk to, the customers as well. They understand the need for the payment method, but they also understand the complications to actually, or the complex pieces to actually put this together in order to actually function well. To, on the one hand, be able to offer these extended payment terms and payment methods to most of their customer base, and especially new customers. On the other hand, trading that off with potential losses, because ultimately buy now pay later methods are unsecure payment methods, and that risk needs to also be managed. So we talked about customers clearly needing buy now pay later methods, and by offering them, merchants can obviously drive the business. We see ultimately conversion rate increases, higher average order values after such solutions have been added. In addition, one of the most effective growth drivers is obviously to drive also repeat purchases, right, of buyers, i.e., increase basically the spend that they have with you either every month, and consequently also drive the customer lifetime value. And we believe that this can be perfectly addressed with a digital trade account. And so, maybe just first, what is a digital trade account and what does it do? How does it work? So your buyers can sign up for the digital trade account. They get a limit or purchasing power assigned. Then they can use that limit to make as many purchases as they want during a preset period of time, maybe a month. And then after that period of time, they get a consolidated statement, which then they can settle with terms, right? And this is a concept that's close to, in German, the Sammelrechnung, but it's in a digital form and a very scalable form as well. And for buyers, this is obviously great, right? Because you simplify their lives a lot. Think, for example, about a restaurant. They do almost weekly purchases with their wholesale suppliers to be able to replenish the stock of the restaurant. And instead of having to pay for each and every single order and invoice, they get one consolidated statement, which can then they settle, right? And what we see is, and what happens is that these buyers will continue to concentrate more and more of their purchases with the merchants that offer such a trade account. And that obviously leads to higher repeat purchases, higher spend per customer, and also higher customer lifetime value. And we always say jokingly, basically, when you have an open beer tap in a bar, you continue drinking there, you don't go to another bar, but you actually stay there to enjoy the evening, basically. And that's sort of the feeling that we want to create here as well. And Mondu offers such a trade account, basically, for merchants in a separate way, right? So those are trade accounts created for each and every merchant, and we've been quite successful for that because ultimately we take care of the entire payment flows. We collect the payments from the buyers, pay out the merchants right away, and then you continue as in the regular buy now pay later methods. You continue to be protected basically from all the defaults as well. Yeah. Now let's quickly move over to the last element. I think we're right on time.
Almost, yeah. But I just wanted to quote on your beer tap, right? From a retailer perspective, beer tap is always good because, as long as you don't pay, right, it might happen that you pay more or drink, in that sense, drink more. So that's good for the revenues as well, to have that trade account. Just to, let's say, finish that off, right? In our case, when we started, like some years back, right, payment was just, as I said before, a commodity. It just needed to work, right? So it shouldn't destroy the checkout flow. It shouldn't have errors. It shouldn't decline any clients, but it just should work, and it should not cost as much because we don't have tiny margins. I think that view completely changed, right? And don't be shy when you talk to your payment providers. That's at least what I wanted to bring across, right? Because payment itself can be a substantial flow to your bottom line in the end, right? Not only by talking on fees, but also talking on, let's say, what kind of innovation can you bring to a client, like the trade account, for example, right? What can you bring to the client that makes your life easier, his life easier, which potentially saves you, let's say, process costs on one hand, but also increases the chance that someone stays or even purchases more. Let's say, same for buy now, pay later, right? If you have rate payments over time, that can help. You can add additional, let's say, surcharges on top of that in order to do something. And that's basically what we are doing, right? So we don't see them as commodity anymore. We sit together. It's a real, let's say, close collaboration where we see, okay, what's on the roadmap? What can we do jointly? What do we see from our customers, what they really need? And then we try to see let's say, does it work? How can we work that into your platform? So in order for our customers to, let's say, have a very good experience, let's say, in our checkout or even, let's say, above the checkout, right? And that's definitely something, right, for the retailers. Don't see it as a cost center, see it as a profit center. Try to, let's say, reclaim some of the things that happen behind the scenes in the value chain of the fintech or, let's say, the larger insurance and financial ecosystem, because there's a lot that you can tap into, almost like with, let's say, retail media, right? It's a growth opportunity still missed, I would say. And the guys are there to talk to, so reach out and try to find your sweet spot of getting more profits.
Absolutely. Good. So we arrived at the end of the presentation. I hope we were able to show you a little bit better the importance and relevance of a good setup of digital payments in the B2B space to really drive success. And thanks for doing this with us, Martin.
Pleasure.
And whoever is interested and would like to understand a little bit more, we have a booth over there, and also, this handsome team of sales managers can lead you to the booth as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.